2, 3.
Or reducing it.
I hear people talking about it, but they don't. They're making comments like, "Oh, we won't have to pay it in the future."
Okay, yeah. Okay. How many have you interviewing others? When do you know about that?
Usually before.
Yeah, thank you. It's before, Becca. That's exactly right. If I don't know about it, it's during the question asking that I'm asking. But I know up front. By the way, I will know what companies they're from also because I'll ask. Okay? That way I know exactly what I'm competing against. If you don't know your competition, you should. And then how many want to do a 30-day listing? Not get into a contract. Just you. Okay, we'll still cover it. Okay, all right. So let's go through these. And I brought my scripts, and Hunter, I brought scripts for all sorts of things and my objection handling techniques. I want this back, but if you'll make one copy, then the office can figure out how to get those out. All right, so let's go through the commission thing. Rob, do you want to come and sit up here and play my commission guy on this one?
Just you guys can move that there.
Okay, perfect.
You want me to go make a copy of this? Is that what you said?
Yes. If
Yeah,
you just
well,
make
absolutely.
one copy and then the office has
Thank
one
you.
and they don't come to me and get your
Your
copies.
turned off here, so.
Yeah, has everybody got their phones off? I turned mine off when I got here. I forgot to turn it on the other day when I left. It was really quiet day that day.
Nobody's calling today here.
Until I figured it out. Okay. So, truthfully, I think commissions happen at 2 different times. They can happen when I'm on the phone setting the appointment. And well, how much do you charge? And I always say I have a flexible commission rate that we will go over when I get there. And they say, well, but how much is it? And I said, it's flexible. So I will bring a copy of it to bring to you so that you understand what range we have in choices for you. That seems to do it. Now, does that put me on alert that this is going to be somebody that's going to be eager about commissions, right? So maybe my presentation may be a little bit shifted to make sure I'm covering that kind of thing. The other time it will come will be at the very end when they are signing the documents. So we've done the walkthrough, the staging, the marketing, the pricing, and now we get down to the documents because that's the only place it's at. And on mine, on the state approved form is it a place where you write the percentage it's going to be. Mine says see addendum because I have a flexible commission rate. Okay. But let's say we've gone through it all and we get down to the end and you're going to try to hit me for less. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So this one just, again, for commission, I just wrote C addendum because I don't know if it's going to be a 2 or 5 or a 6. Okay, just initial right down here and date.
Well, let me ask you, Lee. I mean, you do a good job. You know what you're doing and stuff like that. But man, I get a lot of people that are willing to do this for a lot less. You know, instead of a 6% commission, they're taking 2 on their side and 2 on the other, and it's just a 4% commission. That's saving me 2%. That's a lot of money.
So you're asking if I would do that? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Was there anything other than that you had concern about?
Yeah. Well, what would you do?
I'd do a 6 if another realtor sells it, and I'd like your permission to share 3% of that with them, with the buyer's side agent. I would do a 5 if somebody from my team brings in the buyer, and I'll only take 2 on that, and I will give to that buyer's agent 3. And then if you bring, the buyer will do it at 2%. And I've got to ask you, you said you've had lots of people who have offered this. Are they offering it or are you asking?
Well, I ask them what they charge on the thing, stuff like that.
So truthfully, they know their value better than I do. My worry is if they can't negotiate the money they feed their family with trusting are you that they're gonna negotiate your equity well?
Well, let me ask you this, then, if I can get the 3% on your side, can we drop the other side down to 2%, the buyer's commission?
Well, now I think you're jumping over nickels, or jumping over dollars to pick up nickels, and I'll tell you why. So right now, there are just over 9,000 houses for sale. And those people out looking at them have agents. And those agents are out looking at those houses and going, which do we want to show? Don't want to show 9,000 of them. Don't even want to show 100. Prefer not to show 15. So they're going to direct their buyers to the houses to show. That is often what is happening. Would a buyer's agent be likely to show yours at 2 or more likely to show the one that pays them 3?
Well, I'm sure they're gonna serve their own best interest.
I think we all do. I think you do. I think they do. I think that's human nature. I think you're right. So truthfully, would we not be better off getting every buyer in here rather than a select few? If we get every buyer in here, are we more likely to find the right buyer? Are we more likely, because we are getting everybody in here, more likely to be in a situation where we might have a multiple offer? And if we have a multiple offer, who benefits from it?
Well, I would.
They do. So my worry, and that's happening just over 30% of the time. My worry about that is, are you stepping over dollars to pick up nickels? I think your best bet is to encourage every single buyer to come to your house. You don't have to accept their offers. But you don't otherwise get all the offers you should. That works.
So do you think there's some of them that, if it's not 3%, they won't show the property?
Well, I think that can happen. Here's the other thing I think can happen. They can walk through your house at 2% and they just showed one, a half a mile away at 3%. And they're gonna walk into your house and do the, yeah. There's subtle ways. I want every agent excited to show your house. I want every agent wanting to sell your house. And I would think you would want it too.
All right, let's do it.
All right? That really is what I do. Okay? All right, you can go back to your chair.
All right.
Any questions on that one? Nope, no applause needed. Any questions on that one? I'm real hard-nosed about this, guys.
What if you're doing a buy-sell and they kind of expect,
Mine never expect that, Paris. Yeah.
or they ask, hey, since you're helping me buy as well.
Right. If I had to do that, and I don't, but if you had to do that because you're choosing to, then here's how I would do that. We will do your commission on your house because that's gonna net you the most amount of money. And then when we purchase the other house, I'll reduce 0.5% of mine towards your closing costs, down payments, or concessions. Do not ever do it on the listing side, because you're not locked into that buyer side. Never do it on the listing side. Clear about that one? Okay. Yep.
What if my pre-listing packet literally has me reducing my commission if they buy with me. So, what if they sign the buyer broker agreement at the listing appointment? Like, we're gonna sell and buy.
So let me repeat it one more time. The
Yeah.
only way I would ever say you should do that, because I won't do it, is that you do a give on the buy side, never a give on the list side.
Okay.
Your money is being outlaid for marketing, for your time. Your costs are involved in the listing. Your gas and car is involved in the buy. Never give up where your hard costs are. If you have to give up, and I don't think you should certainly stop offering that give up. Give it on the buy side where it's just gas and wear and tear in your car.
Cool. Thank you.
Not on KSL, bills and other things. Becca?
So if they're adamant that they're not doing more than 5, do you walk away?
I do. Yeah, I do. Yep, I do. And I often get the call back. I walked away from one a couple of months ago. It's still sitting. I expect the family will call me. But yeah. I don't give a discount to friends. I don't give a discount to family. I just, honestly, this is how I earn my living, and I do a really good job of it. And I've got 1,000 Google reviews that say I do a really good job of it. And you want top dollar, so you need somebody who does a really good job.
I think that's phenomenal because I hear from people that say they're like, well, I gave this family member this discount and I gave this one. I'm like, do they not realize this is your job? If you go to the family member that does this, do they give you discounts for everything? If you ask for this, do you get a discount for this and a discount? And if you give everybody a discount, then pretty soon you don't have a job.
Yeah, I think of it as prostitution. I mean, very simply, I think of prostitution. And I think I mean it wholeheartedly when I say certainly they know their value better than I do. But I know my value.
Mhm.
I am good at what I do. My clients say to me, we don't pay you enough for what you do. If you go out and that way and you're getting your people top dollar, then you need to do the right thing for them, and that requires funding to do that. So I'm a big believer in not doing it. Okay. All right, pricing. So let's talk about the pricing. So Hunter, you want to be my guy for pricing?
Sure.
Yeah, change chairs. This is
Yeah.
hot. This is official.
That's the hot seat. All right.
Okay. So as you can see from the comparables, that it really does appear that we need to be at about no more than about 550 on this house based on these sales. I think your house is a little nicer than that, but that's my raise that up to 550. Okay. How do you feel about that price?
Yeah, I think it looks good.
You're getting the pricing, so this is when we said we want to try it.
I don't agree.
Okay, perfect. All right. Yeah, I think though that our finishes are just a little bit nicer. Our kitchen, we updated, put some cabinets in, and our paint is a little bit newer. Our roof was replaced in 2021. Don't you think that would warrant a little bit more in an increase?
Well, as you looked at the pictures that I brought, you can see their kitchen also has been updated. I mean, I do condition the value on those things. I don't on a roof. Everybody expects the roof to not be leaking, and they expect it to be in pretty good shape. So on occasion, they get unpleasantly surprised, but the roof isn't one that's necessarily put out that picture. Certainly, it makes it more sellable than the neighbor whose roof is 15 years old, because it's only got another 10, 15 years left. But ultimately, most people stay in a house for 7 years. They don't care much beyond 7 years.
Okay. Well, would it hurt at all just to, we really think we want that price. Would it hurt not to just go for that initially and then we can reduce the price in a week or two if we don't get it?
Let's talk about that for a second. Let's pretend that you're a buyer, okay? And we're out looking at houses, and we come to this house, your house, and it's got that nice kitchen. It's got a new roof, and it's nice, and they like it. And they say to their agent, "We want it." So the agent's going to take them back to the office, and they're going to look up what's sold in the neighborhood, and then they're going to write the offer. So here is what's sold in the neighborhood. What we're looking at right now, it's the same thing the appraiser's going to use. If you're the buyer, how much are you going to offer for it?
Probably whatever the other homes have sold for in the area, or if I really, really,
550.
yeah, or if I really, really like it, maybe I'd pay more.
Would you?
I think so. If I really like the home.
And so the challenge you then have is when the appraiser comes in, because you're getting a loan.
Mm.
If I tell him you really, really like the house, is he going to appraise it for his
No.
So then we can't get a loan.
Yeah.
So how much you can offer for the house?
Whatever the appraisal probably comes in at.
Right there. Okay? And even if I said to you the seller needs that money or wants that money, is that gonna change the offer that you would write?
No,
It's really not. So where do we need to price your house?
probably right at that mark. Yeah.
That's the same. Okay? Alright,
Sweet. Yeah.
alright, questions, thoughts? Becca?
So on your comps, what's your process? Like how far back do you go? If you can't find good comps, go further back.
You can go back as much as 18 months, and this is probably one of the few markets in my 53 years that you can actually do that, because they haven't changed a whole lot in the last 18 months. Normally, I would be 90 days, but in this market with so few turning, I did one this weekend that I went back 6 months. But I literally, if I have to, if I have a really unique house, for example, the one I did it on had a pool, so I looked 18 months back, because that's legally how far an appraiser can go back. It can be a challenge. This market is interesting to try to do comping on right now, because there are just so few sales. Okay? Other thoughts? How did that work? Is that something you feel like you could do?
Smooth.
It really, if you
I
just
thought you
put,
validated his concerns, but then got him over.
and you remember last week when I went through the listing presentation documents, the selling documents, that we got to the data entry form on the MLS, and I said to the sellers, wasn't you for last week, somebody else for last week, I said, just write the price in right here. This is the one place it's at, and I make the seller write the price, the $550. Okay, there's something about he did it. It wasn't I did it, it was he did it. Okay, so I always make them write the price in. Okay, let's look at the next one. Why a BBC? That was yours, right? Okay, so I've had that twice. Okay, so I'll use both my examples. So I had a couple that was young couple selling their first house and going to be buying their second house. And they said, and we're really excited because we understand we don't have to pay the buyer's agent any money. And I said, you don't have to, but let's talk about it for a second. So when you bought this house, tell me your name.
Tuckerby. Tuck.
Tuck. Thank you. So Tuck, when you bought this house, you were a first-time home buyer, correct?
Sure. Yes.
So it's a start.
All right.
Um,
Thank you.
So, did you know where to find a home inspector, or that you needed a home inspection when you bought it?
No, I did not.
Yeah. Did you know what lender to use or how to get an appraisal done?
No.
No. Who helped you with it, Tuck?
My agent, I guess. Yeah.
An agent. Okay, yeah. And were you at that time just rubbing nickels together trying to make $1? I mean, really? Did you
It
have
was a
lots of
miracle.
down payment, lots of money extra?
It was a miracle I could buy the house in the first place.
Yeah. So whoever's buying your house, they're gonna be exactly like you were. Barely have enough money for a down payment. Maybe part of that's a gift from grandma. You know, much less closing costs. And they don't know what they don't know. And so if they come in here and don't know what they don't know, how likely are we that we're gonna get to the finish line and get you top dollar in your pocket so you can move on to the next house?
On my own, probably not at all, but with an agent, I mean,
If they have an agent guiding them, we will probably get to the finish line. It's funny, a friend of mine the other day was telling me about, they had a house and they got multiple offers on it. And one of the offers was a self-represented buyer, happened to be an attorney, so he's more knowledgeable than most. And the other offers all were represented by different realtors. And the seller, not even any question from the agent, the seller said, we're not taking the unrepresented guy. He'll be an idiot to work And the agent said, that's pretty bright of you to acknowledge that that is indeed the case. We need to get you to the finish line. And I believe that that realtor will earn their keep getting you to your goals if we let them do that. And I think even if we don't offer it, these kids are gonna be so strapped for money as a first-time home buyer that they're gonna have to be asking you to pay it anyways. So my suggestion is to encourage every single agent to bring every first-time home buyer they have, offer to help them pay their agent. Then you get the most offers possible, maybe even get it bid enough.
All right, let's do it.
That was truly one of them. My other one, and go ahead.
I talked to my neighbor the other day. They have this weird house they're gonna sell, and it's gonna be tough to sell. They painted all black, and it's not a black house. She said, "Oh, our house, we're selling our house, blah blah blah." And she goes, "Oh crap, I forgot you were an agent." Well, I'm like, whatever. It's neither here nor there at this point. She said, "We're not paying our agent a seller's commission. We're giving them just a flat fee, but we are paying the buyer's agent. So if you have any, if you have anybody, bring them in because we're paying them." But I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Again, certainly that agent knows his value better than we do.
Obviously, but hey, at least the buyer's agents are getting
I
paid.
guess so.
So
I guess so.
I just thought that was super weird. I hadn't heard that one before.
So the other one I had is one I'm closing today at 3:30. And this is a luxury home. It's $1,480,000 is what we sold it for. And when I got to her house, she said to me, my friends in California.
Sorry.
All right. My friends in California said I should probably wait till July because there's this July thing. That's what she called it, was the July thing. And I said, oh, I know what you're talking about, the July thing. So the NAR is saying that a seller can choose to or choose not to compensate the buyer's agent. And really, we've always had buyer representatives and seller representatives. So I think not much is going to change in Utah compared to the 32 states who did not ever have agents who represented buyers. But we've done that since 1992, so it should be easy. But I said, more importantly than that, let's think about who our buyer might be on your house, which, by the way, is exactly what we just did with Tuck, is it not? A first-time home buyer, that situation. So I said, let's think about the buyer for your house. So you're about to go to Washington and buy a new house. And are you going to want to call every realtor of every house that you see that looks interesting and get them to let you into that house? You're going to make all those phone calls, chase down all those agents? You're going to want to call all the different home warranty companies and get the pricing? Or are you at a point in your life where you kind of like a concierge life? You kind of want to have a go-to person who just takes care of getting all those ducks in a row for you. Which are you at this point? The do-it-yourselfer girl or the person who wants a concierge? And she said, yeah, I'm a concierge girl. I said, me too. And we want to pay the concierges for getting all those buyers here to this house rather than being dependent on when you can make it available or I can make it available. We just always wanted of it. And for that, I'm going to recommend we compensate them so we get to the finish line. She made over $250,000 more than she thought she was going to on this house. So concierge works. But I think just put it in the frame of what they're doing. So those both happened in 1 week's time, and both of them are paying the agent 3%. And I also think for the agents, it really isn't much of a change for us. We really are lucky that we've had buyer broker since, 1992. When I'm taking a buyer out and I'm calling Paris to see, I have these set questions I ask Paris, is the home still available? Okay. Do you have any offers or anybody threatening to write an offer yet?
Some certainly, but none.
But nothing yet? Okay. In addition to pricing, which I'm assuming is always the most important, Paris, what else is important to your buyer or your seller in an offer on this house?
Just a really solid timeline.
Okay. And what would be the best timeline? Are they working 30 days, 45, 60, 2 weeks? What is it?
2 weeks would be amazing.
2 weeks could be doable for them, not pressing them? Okay, all right, excellent. And what compensation is the seller offering to pay?
3%.
I like you. Thank you for doing your job. Okay, I just had to add a question to my usual questions. I don't see where this is so hard. And people are all like, oh, how will we know? Well, the same way, if that's one of the houses you want to show, you're going to make that call and ask those questions anyways. Now, I do have to say, this means that all of us must be really good about answering phone calls and messages. Okay? I think we're going to have to be more responsive, speaking to myself, about all of that. Because I think it is people's livelihoods, and more importantly, it's our sellers' goals that we're trying to make sure happen. And if I can't get back to them in a timely manner, they're probably assuming the worst, and they'll go on to something else. Okay? All right, what other questions do you have about the July thing?
I'm wondering if there's a certain amount of people that are thinking like, well, I can now represent myself. I don't have to have an agent. And in reality, we know that the best listings get sold extremely fast, even though the days on the market may be 60. And that's because the realtors are on top of it. They've done automatic searches. It pops up exactly when it comes into the system. And if the buyer's out there trying to represent himself, he's not even going to know about that property until it's under contract.
Yeah, my client from Idaho has found this to be true. She's going to come here and rent something because we can't act fast enough. And that biggest part of that is the lack of inventory. Like I said, 9,700 or something houses for sale along the Wasatch Front. That's not enough for the needs we have. And as I told my client early on, and she said it back to me last week, she said, I finally get what you meant about when it's a good house, you're not the only person that thinks it's good. A great house is going to go fast, and it's going to go for more. And she's now realizing that because everything she had a dog die, so she was a week late getting here from when she planned. And so everything that was on her list, gone. Everything that was on my list, not necessarily even the same list, gone. The good ones are gone fast. Okay? So, okay. Any others?
And the closing question would be, do you really want to compete with all the other realtors out there, for that property, to find that perfect property for them? So,
I don't quite know what you mean by that.
well, I mean, if you're talking somebody into,
Talking to a seller.
I'm talking to a buyer.
Oh,
That's
now
what
you're
I'm saying.
moved to buyer, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's like, why would anyone want to compete with all the other professional realtors?
There's no way they'll win.
Yeah.
A buyer representing themselves and using the listing agent to assist them
Right.
as counsel. No way on a good house